Okay, at 5:35, welcome to Narrabri Shire Council meeting on the 19th of February 2025. I advise that Council will be recording this meeting today to be webcast and available on the internet. As such, all those present should refrain from making any defamatory statements. Can I ask all councillors during the duration of the meeting to limit their discussions only to the business on the agenda and what is permissible under our code of meeting practice? Opening prayer. If everyone could stand, please. Lord, we pray for thy blessing on this council meeting. Grant that we discuss all matters with understanding and have wisdom in our decisions, that they will be done and through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge the traditional owners of the country throughout Australia, and in particular the Gomeroi people of the Kamilaroi Nation, and we recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay respects to their elders past, present and emerging. And finally, recognition of service men and women. Council acknowledges the sacrifice made by Australian servicemen and women, in particular those who gave their lives in defence of the freedom we enjoy today. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now, attendance by audio-visual link. There being a full deck of councillors here today, all 9 councillors. There was obviously no application for attendance via audio-visual link, and also no apologies or granting of leave of absence. So thank you, councillors. Declarations of pecuniary and non-pecuniary interest. Let me just read something out. Here's a sheet of paper about this. There is a form. Thank you. Councillors are reminded of their obligations to declare their interest in any matters listed before them. In considering your interest, you are reminded to include pecuniary, significant non-pecuniary and non-significant non-pecuniary conflicts of interest, as well as any other interests you perceive or may be perceived of you. Councillors, you may declare an interest at the commencement of the meeting now, or alternatively at any time during the meeting should any issue progress or arise that should warrant such a declaration. Councillors, you need to state your reasons in declaring any type of interest. Do I have any declarations or disclosures at this stage, councillors? Councillor Jansen, please put your microphone on. Thank you.
Just in relation to the application for consideration reduction in fees for the Crossing Theatre for use by Rotary for the conference, I'm on the organising committee and I'm president of the local club. The other is in relation to the 2 nominations for Senior of the Year. I know both and one particularly well.
As a friendship?
As a friendship.
Yep, okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. And you will be leaving the chamber at that stage?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Jansen. You can switch your microphone off, please, Councillor Jansen. Sorry. Councillor Roberts-Garnsey.
Yes, similar to the 16.6, the applicant is a work colleague, so it's a non-significant, non-pecuniary interest. But I'll stay.
You'll stay for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Towns.
Same with Jocelyn. I will be declaring a significant non-pecuniary for the Rotary application use for the Crossing Theatre.
Sue Coppers. Okay, thank you very much. For that, the Crossing Theatre concessional use, I will declare a non-significant, non-pecuniary interest as well. I am a Rotarian, but I'm no longer a board member or am I on any of the district panels, etc. So I quit them to become a councillor. Thank you. Any other matters to raise before we move on? No. Okay, thank you very much. You all good with that? No worries. Items to be considered in the confidential publicly excluded meeting. Yes, look, we do have an item to be considered in the confidential, and it's deliberations around the senior of the year. So we will move in if we will have a vote just before we move into that, but it's due to the sensitive and confidential nature of that. So we don't have any presentations today. Confirmation of minutes. This is item 9. Of course, we've all read the minutes, quite detailed there. Any comments from the floor? Any amendments required, etc.? Any comments whatsoever? Oh, Councillor Jansen, sorry.
Mayor Tiemans, 18.1, minute 269 of 2024. C, I think it's a date error. It refers to being reviewed in March 2024. I think it meant March 2025. It was meant to say March 2025. Am I right?
So it was item 18.1, is it?
18.1,
Yes.
point C.
I'm very impressed with your astute eyesight, Councillor Jansen, that you picked this up. So is that correct? That's been it's meant to be 2025. Thank you very much for picking that up, Councillor. Any other problems or issues? You can switch your microphone off again, Councillor. Sorry. Any other matters in the minutes at all? Thank you, councillors. Do I have a mover for the minutes, please? Councillor Jansen. Do I have a seconder for the minutes? Councillor Nolan. Do you wish to speak to your minutes, Councillor Jansen? Any other comments for or against? I'll put that to the floor. All those in favour of adopting these minutes? All those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. There's no items, there's no matters of great urgency here. There's no questions with notice formally as part of our agenda. Now leads on to the mayoral minute. Apart from a spelling mistake in here, there is a spelling mistake that needs to be just fixed. One of our town spellings is incorrect. And for that, yes, thank you. Do I have any? It's been obviously this is a fair bit on since the 16th of December. Even there is another mistake there, by the way. Sorry, on the 17th of November. That should actually read 17th of December, not November. I've stared at this 1,000 times since it's been given to me, but I've just picked that up now. But any comments, questions about any of the activities? I really wanted to thank the councillors who stepped in at various times. It was quite busy, particularly during January and the beginning of Feb, and it was I really appreciate everyone who got involved. I thought Australia Day was everyone enjoy Australia Day. It was a great event and certainly a great set of events. And the new format seemed to work pretty well, I think. But thank you very much for all your work. Any comments, questions at all? No? I will move that you accept the those minutes and the diary as put. And all those in favour? All those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you very much, Council. Now, I was going to put to the council a last minute mayoral minute about the hospital, the Wee Waa Hospital, or the splitting of the Hunter New England Health Bill. I think it's probably premature at this stage to put that to council, so we will consider it potentially at the next council meeting at some stage. But having said that, I'll just give you a tiny update. The Wee Waa Hospital group, and many of them will be attending Sydney next week just to get the petition up beyond 10,000. There's been some very active moves by the local member and some others just to try and get that in front of the state government. And I think there's I think the health minister is in no doubt. I don't think he could possibly be in any doubt as to what the desire of Narrabri Shire Council is, and also what the desire of the Wee Waa community is, which is to have that hospital operating back and functioning as it's supposed to be. So I look forward to evolution on that. Delegates report. Let's move to item 13.2, everyone. This is the Narrabri Mine Community Consultative Committee. We call them Triple Cs. So I will call that Narrabri Mine Triple C, and that's from the 4th of December. Councillor Robert Scarnsey attended in that one. That's your report. The council notes the delegate report from the Narrabri Mine Triple C held on the 4th of November, 4th of December. It should read. That should read. We'll change that recommendation to the 4th of December. Would you like to speak to that at all? No worries. Any other questions of the council or any other matters? Councillor Lamont.
I just have one. We're standing or we're sitting?
You can do either. It's your choice.
Okay. I just had one question. Is Mr. Stewart the interim chair? Is he, or is he doing that full time?
I'll have to take that question on notice and get back to you on that one.
Yes. Just as a meeting procedure, everyone. And I know you were addressing all questions. Yeah, go through the chair. I know it's been a little while since we've had a council meeting, but all questions go through the chair. So, but we'll take that on notice and we'll get that back to you, Councillor Lamont. So thank you very much, Councillor Rob Scarnsey, for that information. Thank you. Any other comments, concerns, etc.? Okay, that being the case, I assume you'd like to move your this motion. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor, I think that was Councillor Lamont. I don't think we need any further debate. Put that to the floor. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried unanimously. Can I just, for councillors, just for your reference, if I do go too quickly to a vote and you're concerned at any stage, you may absolutely at any stage raise a concern. So don't feel like we're ever rushing things. I'm trying to leave there as have as much debate as possible at any stage. If you feel it's rushing, slow it down. That's what meeting procedure is all about. It's to make sure that everyone is heard fairly. The next item is item 13.2, which is the Local Traffic Committee. This is the minutes of the 29th of October of last year, and just noting the delegate report. That's from Councillor Dickinson. Councillor, do you have anything to say about the report in any way? No worries. Any other comments, concerns for that? Councillor Lamont.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question through you to the interim general manager, who may need to pass to the councillors that were there. But I've received a phone call in relation to the West School and the railway line, and with the grain movements. Last council, there was an issue here where funding wasn't forthcoming in terms of an option for that. And my question is, on behalf of the constituent, is it possible to be raised and the traffic committee have a close look at it, because of the need for grain movements and the restrictive hours
Absolutely.
and all that sort of stuff. And I think it's really important that we
Absolutely.
get a balance here
Yep.
with what's going on with the movements. Because in talking to my colleague councillor over here who drives down that path that way almost every day, it's a real mess. And I think it should be revisited. Thank
Very
you.
good point. Thank you, Councillor Lamont. To the Interim General Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I suppose two parts of the question. We have done some advocacy just recently on rail related matters. Our wonderful mayor has sent off a letter to Minister Atchison, including that level crossing, activating the one on Old Newell Highway. Is that the right road? Yeah. And decommissioning the other one. So that has just gone off this calendar year to Minister Atchison. And going back, the second part of the question, going back to the traffic committee in terms of changing the restrictions on that road, that has been back to the traffic committee within the past 2 years, and that was an adamant no in terms of changing the time frame there. So there is a restriction on certain heavy vehicles to go through that road during school drop off and pickup. The local traffic committee is against changing that.
Was a 2-year time frame on when they could revisit it. Is that what you're saying?
No, it was done within the last 2 years. I just don't have that information with me, but it's definitely been to the traffic committee within the past 2 years about if they would consider changing that. And that was an adamant no. The makeup of that traffic committee, but you would have been probably there at that meeting, has not changed significantly. So I don't think that appetite has changed. But in terms of moving the rail crossing, we have done advocacy to Transport for New South Wales through Minister Atchison for that.
Even personally, we raised it with Minister Atchison last year when the General Manager and I met with the Minister. So it is something that we keep beating the drum, and it's very, very important to sort that out.
Yeah, and it's often difficult to give a response to a constituent who's in the transport industry, and it's critical. They're sitting there for 4 hours, one way,
Absolutely.
another way. That's a lot of money for a transport operator.
Yep.
And I understand the other side,
Yeah.
the children and the buses and everything else. It's Mr. Mayor, it's incredible how schools were built next to train lines and silos when Narrabri was born.
100%. And look, we're not going to let that matter go. And I think it's something that we just need to keep advocating on behalf. And when we get different appetite with the government, we'll hopefully get the funding for it. Thank you very much. Any other questions of the of that committee, local traffic committee? Any other questions? I assume you'd like to move it, Councillor, and who would like to second it? Councillor Brown, thank you very much. Put it to the floor. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried unanimously. Thanks, everyone. The next item is the minutes of the Boggabri Tarrawon Maules Creek Joint Mines CCC held on the 14th of November 2024. And it's just the council, the recommendation here is that council notes the delegate report on the approved minutes. This has come from Director Osling. Is there any questions of the council, of any councillors to the acting director? Do I have a councillor to move this? Thank you very much, Councillor Dickinson. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Roberts Garnsey, thank you very much. Any questions, debate at all? I'll put that to the floor. All those in favour? All those against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. That was a yes from you, Councillor Jansen, was it? Yep, great, thanks. Excellent. I'll just move on to the next item. This one is for the, this is item 13.4, which is the Maules Creek Coal Mine CCC. That was held on the 13th of November this year. Once again, the author was Director Osling, and just noting the delegates report from that. Any questions of that Maules Creek CCC from the council at all? No, if that's the case. Do I have a mover on this motion? That was Councillor Dickinson again. Who's seconding that? Do I have a seconder on that? Councillor Roberts Garnsey. I'll put that to the floor. All those in favour of approving that? All those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Going to put this next one. This is the Narrabri Coal Mine Triple C. That was held on the 4th of December 2024. In this case, it was Roberts Garnsey as the councillor, or the as the author. Councillor.
Mr. Mayor, I think it's the exact same one as before. The Narrabri, the 4th of December 2024. I think it's the same one. I think it's just the minutes potentially, but I think that's also attached as part of the consultative committee in 5.1.
Okay. We're just checking that for a moment. Won't be a moment.
Mr. Mayor, when I read it on the internet rather than on this, it was
Yes.
okay then.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, sorry, that's a glitch in the system. I'm very sorry. Councillors will the general manager has informed me that we'll withdraw that particular item and scrub it from the record. So that's item 13.5 doesn't exist. Thank you. Thanks very much, councillor, for that. Okay, we move on to item 15.1, which is general manager's reports, and this first one is the item here, which is for the item 15.1, which is 2025 LG or Local Government New South Wales Annual Conference. Recommendation here is that the council receives and notes the report that nominates the mayor and 2 additional council attendees for 2025 LG New South Wales Conference being held in Penrith, 23rd to 25th of November 2025. The council authorises the mayor as a voting delegate and 1 additional councillor who we will decide on tonight as the second voting delegate for that particular conference. Can I just encourage those councillors that have never been to one of these conferences that in your term over the next 3.5 years, I'd strongly encourage you to at least attend one. They're an amazing experience where you meet councils from the melting pot across the entire state, and it's always very, very interesting. Can I just throw it to the floor? Should we move into meeting of the whole? Councillors, I'd like to just move that we move into meeting of the whole, the committee of the whole. Can I have a seconder on that move? It's Councillor Dickinson. Thank you very much. All those in favour? All those against? We're in committee of the whole. Remember, standing orders are slightly relaxed, but there's still obviously the standard politeness required. Councillors, anyone inclined to attend that hasn't attended LG New South Wales fairly recently? Anyone want to attend? You would like to attend? Will you be bringing your kangaroos with you or no? Maybe. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's a good point. Councillor Towns as is a potential attendee. Any other councillors? Councillor Jansen? Any other councillors would be interested in attending or no? Okay. Well, can we? Is everyone? You guys happy with that? Now, out of the 2 of you, who wants to be the vote? Who wants to have the vote? It basically is a machine, and you vote. It's a really interesting day. You basically vote on motions from all across the state. Some of them they're completely mad, but some of them are actually quite interesting. So it's an interesting, exciting day. But out of the 2 of you, who would be most inclined to want to participate in the vote? What's that? Toss a coin. Well, maybe you can share it.
You need one person.
I need one person. That's right. So you guys decide. Okay. Right. That sounds interesting. So, okay, council. Can I just move that we move out of council of the whole, committee of the whole? I mean, all those in favour, all those against. It's carried. Who moved that? So I moved that, and Councillor Dickinson seconded that. Sorry, we're moving at a pace, aren't we? I'm sorry. So do I have a mover and seconder for the overall motion? And that is that the council receives a note the report that Enormous Mayor and Councillor Towns and Councillor Jansen as the attendees to LG New South Wales Conference. Authorises the Mayor as voting delegate and Councillor Jansen. Just noting that you're going to be sitting together and arguing over the votes, I guess. Do I have a mover for that motion? Councillor Nolan, thank you very much. Do I have a seconder on that motion? Thank you very much, Councillor Lamont. I think we've had enough debate, but if anyone wants to say anything for or against this motion, that's fine. That being the case, I'll put that to the floor. All those in favour? All those against? Thank you very much, Council. We now move on to the next item under the GM's matters. This is the draft 2025-2035 Community Strategic Plan. I would like Jason Townsend, our Manager of Governance and Risk, through the General Manager, just to give us a top line on what work's been done so far and what you would like in terms of next steps and any other relevant information. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This document is essentially a linchpin of Council's integrated planning and reporting framework. It's a document that lists Council's aspirations and vision for the community and the community's aspirations and vision for the next 10 years. It's a result of extensive community engagement that's taken place over the last few months. And while the uptake on the engagement was probably below optimum, the results accord with other metrics that we have from other surveys and other censuses and whatnot that have been done. So we're confident that the views do actually reflect the broader community's views. The purpose of this document coming to Council today is for Council to go through the draft Community Strategic Plan, which has been drafted arising out of what the community has said in that engagement. Once Council is happy with it today, assuming that Council will be happy with it today, I hope, Council will endorse it for a period of 28 days for public exhibition for that period. And we would strongly encourage members of the community to make submissions when it is on public exhibition. The good, the bad, the ugly, we want to hear everything the community thinks about it, because that's what informs us in putting together their plan, the community's plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just sorry, one other thing, just to the manager. This is a requirement by the state government that we go through this kind of process. Do you want to sort of explain the context of that for people listening at home?
That's right, Mr. Mayor, through the General Manager. The Integrated Planning and Reporting Framework is legislated under the Local Government Act. It's been around for about 16 years now, and it's to ensure that all council activities across New South Wales are planned and in accordance with what the community wants. So that it's a system that allows councillors and elected bodies across to the state to understand what the community's wants and needs are and what their aspirations are, and then to use that as a yardstick for planning out our delivery program and our operational plan, which will be coming up in the coming months.
Thank you very much. Councillors, the report here is that we endorse the draft community strategic plan for the purposes of public exhibition, and that we place this document on public exhibition for a period of 28 days, and during this period, call for and accept submissions from the public on the draft plan. Now, just for context, councillors, we did have a briefing session where we've had quite a lot of discussion before this meeting about this particular strategic plan. I have to say broadly, I think council seems fairly they seem to be pretty open to it. But there was some concerns over a couple of little matters. But Councillor Lamont, would you like to say something?
Mr Mayor, I'd like to move the motion as it's printed there.
Yep.
Based on the recommendation. And the reason for doing so is because of the workshop, and we have plenty of time, any councillors that have a closer look after that discussion, that they can make changes if the rest of the council agree when the report comes back after being on exhibition. And you're going to get further input from other people. And I think the staff have done a wonderful job building on the changes that have been put in place from the previous council and the morale of the staff. They're ready to put their energies into a new strategic plan for the next 4 years, and I think they should be commended for that. That's why I moved that, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder on that motion at all? Thank you, Councillor Roberts-Garnsey. Have you spoken to that? Do you want to speak to that motion at all? You just did, Councillor. Sorry, do I have any other comments from the floor about this particular plan? We did have some discussion about the vision, whether or not that's the appropriate time to change it, or whether it's we just leave it and send it straight to public exhibition. Any councillors wish to make a comment at all? The previous, if we just jump quickly to the community engagement report for the community strategic plan on page 8, there was the previous vision, which was that the Narrabri Shire will continue to be a strong and vibrant regional economic growth centre, providing a quality living environment for the entire community. And the proposed vision was that we are a community that is both vibrant and sustainable, where every individual feels connected and valued. That was the only thing I think that really struck some councillors as potentially something that could be looked into. But as Councillor Mott said, do we do that now, or do we do that after the 28-day exhibition period? Council, do I have any comments? Councillor Jansen, do you want to put your mic on? Yep.
Thank you, Mayor Tiemans. I feel that the previous vision, as compared to the proposed vision, was much more aspirational and fitting of the community's aspirations and their vision. But I think it just needs a little wordsmithing, and bringing it back will give us time to consider that. Also, to consider the community's feedback as well. They may have thoughts about that vision statement too.
Yep. Okay. Thank you very much, Councillor Jansen. Any other comments? Concern from the floor at all? General Manager.
I just have a suggestion. I know talking about the vision and making sure we get that right for this future plan, and discussing whether potentially we could put it to council if they wanted to do some targeted engagement over that public exhibition period on the vision. So we can use our different channels, have workshops specifically looking at that vision to make sure we come up with the right wording. That is up to you. You could potentially add that into your recommendation. I'm just, as an idea.
Councillor Lamont, you're the mover. I think so that the General Manager has suggested that we... sorry, Jason, would you like to give us your suggestion?
Thank you for the indulgence, Mr Mayor. One of the things the community engagement team plans on doing is, this isn't the kind of document where we just put it on exhibition, put a notice up and people can come and look at it and make a submission. It's something where we're taking it on the road, and we'd encourage any councillors to come with us to these events where we present it to community groups and stakeholders. So that's a prime opportunity for us when we take it on the road to specifically hone in on the vision, to find out whether either of those versions or either of those proposed visions align with what the council wants, or with what the community wants, I should say, or whether there's some other vision or some other statement that emerges from those roadshows or those meetings. So that may resolve that issue.
So do we formally add that to the recommendation? We have a recommendation 3, or do we add it as a, do we possibly put it in item 2 that specifically really highlights that, particularly to, broad members of the business community and the agricultural community and, across the entire community, etc. Do we add that, or do we just take it on face value that you will do that? Councillors, what do you think? Councillor, you're moving this.
Oh, sorry, councillor.
The comment.
Councillor Robert Scarnsey.
I think as Jason pointed out, it will be part of that discussion. I think that it will form part of the vision will form part of the discussion as it is. I don't think that that's I don't think it's necessary for the motion to be amended to include that as a specificity. Specificity. Did I do that?
Specifically. Yep, that's right. Cool. So that being the case, are you happy to retain it, or do you want to highlight
retain it, given the comments of the seconder.
Yep.
I'm happy to leave it as is.
Just leave it as is. Any other councillors wish to add their 2 bobs worth? That being the case, I'm going to put it to the floor. All those in favour? All those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Cool. We're on item 15.3, the resolutions register. This one is, as everyone knows, we keep a resolution register of past resolutions that council has made just to see how we're tracking with them, ones that have actually been achieved and ones that still need to be achieved. I might just call on the manager through the interim general manager just to quickly give us a quick top line on the progress of the resolutions register, please. That's you. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an important element of transparency and accountability, whereby the council passes resolutions that are binding on the organisation, and this report and the document attached to it is our way of showing that we're either actioning those resolutions or we've done it. We've actioned them. So it's an important document for the council to show that it's doing what it says it's going to do.
Thank you very much, council. We usually get some comments from various members and sectors of the floor. Do I have any questions or comments from anyone? Councillor Dickinson.
Yes, 52-2023, notice of motion that I brought to council, security for WeWall. Part of that was the council reports on the possibility of purchasing a mobile camera system for WeWall, which allow the police to monitor trouble spots in WeWall. I was just wondering if anyone had any comment if that could have been purchased and placed at the courts in WeWall or the splash park, these troublesome areas, whether it may have caught the perpetrators. And I was just wondering where that sort of thing's up to, because I'm of the opinion that council could have purchased that within their fleet and used it, and it may help with some of the vandalism or the out of town. I'm just watching my words here.
Antisocial behaviour?
Well, not so much antisocial behaviour. I know thefts that may occur with council equipment. That was all. I was just wondering if there's any, because it was a matter of urgency, but it doesn't seem to have gone too far at all. It's now 2025.
And that was how many? That was 2-3 years ago. That was your motion, I think. I'll put that through the general manager to the relevant director. for that one.
Thank you, councillor. Mr Mayor, through the interim general manager. Yes, the resolution says to investigate the purchase, and we are actively attempting to gain or garner grant funding for that. The mobile trailer that we are looking at is in excess of $120,000 as a base specification. We want to make sure that it does the job, and we don't have those funds secured in our budget at this time. So we're trying to secure some grant funding, as the resolution also mentions.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Any comments or any comments or questions or concerns from any other councillors about either that resolution or any of the other resolutions?
Mr Mayor.
Yeah, oh, yes, sorry,
Yeah,
councillor.
sorry. The item there, 185-284, Merrill Minute Recruitment of General Manager. When are we having our next workshop? Are you in a position to announce that at any stage? Thanks.
Which item was that, sorry?
Just the last item.
I can't see.
To help you think off the cuff, you've already implemented the motion, and that was to engage a suitable entity, and you've done that. And I understand you've had a workshop which I couldn't attend,
Yes.
and now what's the next step? I'm asking.
Excellent. Sorry. Yes. Sorry. Yes. I'm trying to find that ultimate resolution. So just a bit of an update for everyone. I actually spoke to the recruitment consultant yesterday. He's been keeping us all fairly much informed. He has made some good progress. I won't go into too much detail, but I'll privately brief you all. But the progress is going rather well. The workshop went well. We recorded an internal video for all staff just to reassure them that we were after someone who was building on previous general managers, building on the shoulders of greatness. We've had some great general managers, but we certainly don't want a revolutionary. We want someone in there who's building on the strategic plans, not going to throw everything out and start again. We want someone who's a builder, someone who's good at relationships, someone who's got that strong sense of emotional intelligence. And that's kind of, and we've had some good applicants from what I understand. So Mark's quite happy with the situation at the moment. So I can't give you too much other detail. Yeah, but we're making good progress. Short list is slowly building, and we'll get to a sort of a climax in probably in about a month or so. So thank you for the question, though. Any other questions? Anything else? Councillor Dickinson.
Yes, I note in the report there's a traffic light. I'm just wondering what a blue traffic light means.
I've never seen a blue traffic light.
No, neither have I. Hence my question. The green ones, the yellow ones, blue ones. I only said red.
What's the blue ones? They're progressing.
Yeah, through the mayor. The blue one means progressing. I take what you mean, though. It's not really a traffic light if it's not the same colours as traffic lights. We could potentially give it a different name. Yeah, blue means it's progressing, so we're working on it.
Or perhaps we just have a key somewhere or something, so it makes it clearer on every page or something. So if people read it, they know what they're doing. But thank you very much, Councillor. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Councillors, I need a mover for this motion. Do I have a mover? Councillor Jansen, Councillor Lamont, thank you. Any further debate? I don't think there is. I'm going to put it to the floor. If that's the case, all those in favour, all those against, it's carried unanimously. Thank you, Council. So this is item 15.4, which is the Operational and Service Plan Quarterly Report, Q2 for 24-25. And it's also the delivery program. This is the 6 monthly progress report for the end of the last calendar year. The responsible officer in this case is the Manager of Governance and Risk through the General Manager. If he could just give us a very, very quick top line on what this actually is and what it means to the council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this report relates to the next 2 levels of our IP&R framework. So I spoke earlier about the Community Strategic Plan. The 2 documents that sit under that are the Delivery Program, which is the 4-year program of what the council is going to do to achieve the community's strategic aspirations. And then there's the Operational Plan, which is a year-to-year plan, including our budget, which sets out the activities and things that council is going to do over the course of a year. So the Operational Plan is reported on quarterly. So every quarter we bring a report to council and the community on how we're tracking against the things we said we were going to do this year. And the Delivery Program is reported on every 6 months. Again, that's to ensure that level of transparency and accountability that the council is actually doing what it said to the community that it was going to do. The reports look a little bit different in the sense that the Operational Plan quarterly report is very action based. It's set out, we promised to do X, Y, and Z actions. Here's where we're at with those actions. The Delivery Program report more relates to the impact of those actions on various metrics in the community. So it's less action-based and more impact-based. And that's the report for this quarter and this 6 months. Broadly, council's tracking fairly well. I think we're on track for 85% of operational plan actions are either complete or are on track and expected to be complete by the end of the financial year, which is generally, that's what we aim for. In a perfect world, we'd aim for 100%, but there's always things that pop up. So we're currently tracking about 85%. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Manager. Just excuse the delay just for a second. I'm just checking on something. Sorry, Council, can we just, I'll just call for a 2-minute delay, a 2-minute break while we just gather our thoughts just for a second. So we will resume at, I'll say about 6:26, if that's okay with everyone. Council will resume in about 3 minutes, if that's possible. Thank you. bit of context. The delivery program, the 6 monthly progress report, as at 31st of December 2024, has been up. It literally fell off the system here in our Resolve program, and it is now online. It is available for everyone to view and see and peruse. It is permissible in our meeting rules to have it available electronically. So I'll just bring that to the council's attention. Do I have any councillors who in any way are not necessarily happy with that? That it is being electronically distributed. It is part of Resolve now. Are there any kind of concerns that anyone has? Could I have someone, and hence the issue that we had to go through. So it is up. It is electronically. It is publicly available document. It is only 24 pages long. So it is now publicly available, as is the requirement of our council. The recommendation here is that we adopt the quarterly operational and service plan progress report as attached, detailing the council's progress and meeting its actions, capital works and key performance measures for the financial year. The council adopt the delivery program monthly progress report as available electronically. We'll just change that to as available electronically via the web or something. We'll just leave it as a, how do you want to, as attached. So it is, we'll just leave it as is, detailing council's progress in meeting its objectives, strategies and measures up to that period. Do I have a mover on that, on this motion, by the way, councillors? Don't rush me. Oh, Councillor Brown. No worries. I'll try and, my eyesight doesn't pan that far. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Lamont, thank you very much. Do I have any comments, questions, concerns for or against council? I'm going to put that to the floor that we adopt this. All those in favour? All those against? Thank you very much, council. The item here, just moving along a little bit, it's item 15.5, submission reforms to council meeting practices. This is an interesting one, and I will, through the General Manager, just give our Manager of Governance and Risk an opportunity to give us his top line on this particular item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hopefully this is the last time I'll have to speak at this meeting. So this relates to, there's a current reform project being undertaken by the Office of Local Government in relation to councillor conduct framework, so the Code of Conduct, and also meeting practices. The first element of that, which is the conduct framework, has already been through a public submission process, and we're waiting for the results of that. This is the second part, which relates to the meeting practices element. So the Office of Local Government has released a consultation draft of the new or proposed Code of Meeting Practice. So for those that aren't aware, in councils in New South Wales, the meeting practice is governed by a legislatively mandated model code of meeting practice. So all councils in New South Wales, subject to a few optional variations that don't substantively change much, all councils operate using the same rules for the way meetings are run. Attached to this report is a draft submission on that consultation draft of the proposed changes to the Code of Meeting Practice. I'm not going to go through it line by line because there's 6 or 7 pages of it. It's proposed that, perhaps unlike some other submissions we made, that this submission be countersigned by both the Mayor and the Interim General Manager to reflect that the views contained in it are both the elected body's views and the staff's views. so that the council as an organisation is united on it. Broadly, what the draft submission, subject to what the elected body says, or the elected body resolve says, finds that many of the changes are good. They streamline meetings and decision making. They place decision making in the hands of the elected body as the democratically elected representatives of the community. That being said, there are some areas which a lot of the submission is devoted to that are, I suppose, for want of a better term, concerning. Particularly the removal of protections from unsubstantiated allegations of misconduct at meetings, the removal of a requirement for respect when asking questions, a reference to New South Wales Legislative Assembly behavioural norms that are not easily found, not particularly well defined, and aren't terribly well translatable to the way local councils operate, a prohibition on briefing sessions entirely. If I stop on that one, what the submission essentially says is that the council agrees that briefing sessions need to be transparent and that decision making shouldn't be taking place at briefing sessions. That's not what they're there for. It's not a place for the council to do its business and then rubber stamp it at council meetings. But what the submission essentially says is that the briefing session has its place as a place for information to be passed from the staff or other stakeholders to the elected body in a less formal setting than a formal council meeting. And on that particular front, we propose, I suppose, a compromise or a middle ground where we suggest perhaps not getting rid of them entirely, but putting rules around them that they're open to the public and that they're recorded and that it follows the same rules in that respect as council meetings. And the other two areas that the submission, I suppose, takes issue with is the change to the general manager's function at council meetings as an advisor to the council and as the decision maker on matters to do with staff. And finally, the requirement for people to stand when the mayor enters the room and when addressing the meeting. I won't rabbit on about that one. Now, some of these are fairly problematic and in the draft submission, subject to the elected body's views. The approach is essentially we oppose it. We can't reconcile that. But there are plenty where we suggest middle ground and compromises that achieve both what the reform project aims to do against maintaining I suppose, various interests, whether it's councillor interests, the community's interests, or other interests. Unless there are any questions, that's my spiel done on that one. And hopefully I won't have to talk again this meeting.
Thank you very much, Mr. Manager. Councillor Lamont, you had questions?
Yeah.
Or a question?
Our submission is very good, Mr. Mayor. Very, very good. There are words in there that obviously written by a lawyer.
Yes.
That I've never seen before. And it's going to dazzle the minister, who's also a barrister. So good luck with that. But it's where we're at. I don't know what he's trying to achieve here. I've been in council situations where they've moved the agenda, items 4, 5, 6, 29, 50 and 60. Bang, no debate, nothing. And that was a political-based council. Let me tell you, well, I won't go into which one. And then after that, the meeting only debated 3 or 4 items. Well, they're proposing that in here as well. And if you look at today's agenda, there's a lot of items that information be noted or they're pretty stock standard move. That's how your council meeting is going to be. It's just one little issue where democracy is not really practiced properly that way. It sure fits the need to get through a business paper and get up what you want if you've got the numbers. Is that democracy? That's another issue. It's probably to do with party politics, but not so much democracy in the country. The other issues were, I agree about standing up and standing down and all of that. And some places, you had to, when you left the room, you bowed to
It's
the mayor
just-
and everything like
This is
that.
not a, it's not a court.
And those days and wearing the chains and all that sort of stuff, I think we've gone past that. It looks a bit like you're a mason or you're a sergeant of police or whatever you are. I don't think that's what we're representing in the community here. And the other concerning issue is the general manager's advisory function being diminished. That's horrible, because you do need, we're all just elected off the street, so to speak, and we do need the advice of the professional staff. And it sounds like they've been pushed out. And it goes way back before the 93 Act came into play, when the mayors and the councillors had total control over the council. And then it got away from that and got down into the general manager looking after the operational side of things, and rightly so, because that's what they're paid to do. Councillors not trying to tell the general manager and the managers what to do. So I'm a bit concerned about it, but I think our submission's a very, very good one, and it captures what I believe, whilst we've got new councillors here, I'm speaking on behalf of them that may not have had the opportunity to have a bit more experience like I have, or Councillor Dickinson or yourself, Mr Mayor, is the arguments we put forward are very cogent, very
Thank you
clear,
very much,
and
Councillor.
should be supported.
Thank you. Your microphone's still on, Councillor.
Yes, sorry.
Any other comments from the council? You've all had an opportunity to read that. I think Jason or the manager's succinct summary of the submission, I think it's very good. I think it's, myself personally, I think the fact that we're submitting it from both the point of view of staff and the council, I think it's I think it really goes a long way to addressing any of our concerns that we have with it. Any other comments by the council? Do I have a mover? Don't know. Okay. Councillor Lamont, Councillor Dickinson, thank you. Any other councillors wish to speak for or against this? It's going to have a big impact on you guys in the future. Righto, thank you very much. We'll put that to the floor. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for that. Thanks, Jason. Yes, absolutely. We move on to item 16.1, which is a quarterly budget review statement for December 2024, through the General Manager to the Director of Finance and Financial and Commercial Services. For just a quick top line on this item, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, through the Interim General Manager, attached for your reading is the quarterly budget review statement for the period ended 31 December. Councillors will be aware that quarterly basis we go through and revise the budget based on actual information and newer information than what was present at the adopted budget process. This quarterly budget review probably doesn't make for palatable reading. The initial operating deficit of $778,000 excluding capital income has been revised down as a result, mainly because of the recognition and the updating and more accurate depreciation for the year, and decline in financial position after the capital income has been excluded. The budgeted deficit is now forecast to be just on $3 million. As I say, it doesn't make for real palatable reading. We are charging each department, each manager, all staff to tighten their belts where they can, and identifying where we can some additional items of revenue. But as I say, most of the hit to the budget is in relation to depreciation, which councillors would be aware, non-cash item, and we're now being more accurate in terms of where the depreciation sits because we're now up to date with their financial statements and presentation thereof.
Thank you very much, Mr. Director. Does the General Manager have anything that she wishes to say at all on this item? General Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to highlight that council does have a focus on operational efficiencies. Not that it is portrayed exactly through this budget update because of the factors Ted just mentioned, but we do have our commitment to operational efficiencies and we'll continue to do that. We also have a commitment to our current operational plan and capital works plan. We have been working very hard, as Ted has said. Our service delivery has been quite resilient in the past, and now we're starting to reach that threshold. So each and every manager or budget owner has gone through their budgets and try to increase income where they can so they get more money in, or decrease costs where they're in. So that's why we're talking about that operational efficiency. In any other organisation, we would be celebrating a massive increase to our asset base. So in finance speak, it's our written down here, IPP&E, which is our infrastructure, property, plant and equipment. So it has gone up from $823 million to $915 million. So any other organisation will be celebrating our asset base and the value of that. However, we are council, and the majority of that is in infrastructure, such as roads, water, sewer, and our stormwater. With any other organisation, say if you're a business, an ag business, or one of the mines here, in times of need, you could sell off those assets. It is not the case here at council that you can do that. However, we do have to report on that. So we report the value of our assets, but because that value has gone up significantly, so too has our depreciation. And our depreciation, we, in terms of cash funds, we move about 30%, 20%, each year it changes slightly, into our internal reserves. So in terms of cash, it doesn't exist in a way of speaking. When we put that, we have to account for it in our books. However, in terms of cash movements, we only move about 20 to 30% of that each year into our internal reserves. So I just wanted to highlight that it is a really great thing that our asset base value has gone up so much. However, it does affect our books, our statements, and how we report on that. 2.7 million is the majority. That is the depreciation figure that has changed this, and which means our budget now sits at a deficit of $3 million. I know it's really tricky to understand, especially for a normal person just on the street, but I just wanted to give that little bit of a higher level summary to help with that. And just to highlight, we do have a commitment to our creating further operational efficiencies and to continue to deliver our operational plan and capital works plan. But any other questions, let us know.
Just for another little bit of context, the local government New South Wales, this comes up as an issue every year about the fact that councils have to treat our roads as assets and we have to depreciate them and the whole thing. And it's I don't think there's a council in New South Wales that appreciates that we have to actually do that, because we can't really sell the roads. What do we sell our roads off? We've got 2,300 kilometres of roads. We've got a huge number of roads in Narrabri and Shire, and it's really hard for us to go to the bank and suddenly sell off all these roads. It's just illogical. So it's a real issue with the accounting standards, and we've made ongoing submissions as all other councils have. Councillor Jansen.
You've somewhat answered my question, Mayor Tiemens. It was just with the knowledge that this is affecting all councillors, metro and rural regional, significantly. What's the way forth for all of us? Because we're all feeling the pain. It all affects the way our bottom line looks. So what is collectively, what is the thinking around where to from here?
So the leadership of LG New South Wales, as well as country mayors, as well as the Australian Local Government Association, are all very cognizant of this issue. This is a really hot topic at the moment, particularly as particularly in the metro areas as well. Like it's not just our councils that are really struggling with these types of accounting standard matters. It's just something that needs to be constantly raised with government and constantly be part of the conversation. It's just it's a challenge. It really is. particularly as we see grants being shrunk and various other things happening. It's a challenging environment, it certainly is. Any other comments or questions, Councillor Jansen?
Just as a follow up to that, it really places council and councillors in a difficult situation where the community, ratepayers, judge us on what our bottom line looks like. And through no fault of anybody's, council's bottom lines, in this regard around depreciation, every council's bottom line is taking a hit. And our community looks to us and looks to that bottom line to measure our performance. And it's deceptive because it's not about performance, and it's affecting everybody.
Very good point. Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments or questions or concerns from anyone? Councillor Lamont.
Mr Mayor, I'm not going to go back into the past. A lot of these but I'll say this, a lot of the depreciation issues are because the assets weren't brought to account and they should have been by previous staff. Am I correct? Yes, you're nodding and agreeing with me. So we are penalised to a degree, but our assurance is with the staff saying to us that they've got strategies and processes in place to bring this back. My question, Mr Mayor, through you to the Interim General Manager, and maybe passed to the director, is, and I think that's what Councillor Jansen was alluding to, is it's all right to sort of say we go ask the management to do that. A lot of the problems in accounting and managing your money is to do with the initial budgeting as what you've got in it, rather than just adding to last year's and upping it by 5% or 3% or whatever. So you really have to delve into your levels of service to see where you can make real changes. The asset management stuff is always going to be there because of the accounting standards. So we've got to look at real savings and real areas, and that may mean levels of service being cut. It may well mean. And a lot of the things in our anticipation in our community strategic plan going forward may not be able to be realised because the money won't be there to go and do it. So my question, Mr Mayor, is, are we confident, Interim General Manager, that our budget said we started with a deficit of 700,000, was it? That should be our aim to get back to, because that's what we've told the community. We're aiming for a budget with a deficit of 700,000 and we're hoping to get back to do better and maybe a balanced budget.
Madam General Manager.
At the start of the year, we actually adopted a surplus budget of $300,000. So we are trying very hard there. It is not just the depreciation that affects this budget, but that's the major hit in this quarter. We are doing our best to make sure that we are budgeting more appropriately in the future as well. As you can see in this update, we had depreciation figure. We budgeted around 14 million, and then it's come to fruition that we 16.7 million is what we're budgeting now. So we are getting better at making sure we budget the right thing. However, as you noted, we had a work in progress account, which we've put into our assets now. It's my simple way of saying it, of about 23 million. So there was so many different moving pieces when this budget was done, and now it's all come, pieces have fallen into the puzzle, and that's how it's landed. But we are working on getting better, and I've already highlighted before, we want to work with this councillor group and create a finance strategy around how we do our finances, and essentially we'll be asking the question, what are you comfortable, where do you want to land, how much do you want to put in reserves? So we'll continue that conversation.
Very good, thank
The
you.
54 million works in progress come back to bite us.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or concerns about this at all? Thank you very much for everyone. It is a complex area, and I would suggest that people, members of the community as well, as just spend a little bit of time looking through this. It is complex. Are the accounting standards fit for purpose in New South Wales? I'm not sure they are, but that's the comment that is made by a lot of people. But they are what they are, and they reflect a particular picture of every council in New South Wales. Do I have a mover on this motion at all? Mover on the motion, Councillor Towns, seconded by Councillor Roberts Garnsey. Thank you. Would you like any further debate? Thank you very much. Any other comments for or against? Put that to the floor. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, Council. We now move on to the investment report. This is usually short and sweet. But the Director, through the General Manager, just like to give us a very short, quick top line.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, through the Interim General Manager, the monthly investment report for December is presented, noting that for the month of December, there were $4 million worth of investments maturing and $6 million new investments that we secured during the month. The graph indicates that our actual interest earned versus budget was in the positive, but as councillors will be aware, every quarter it comes back to actual. Probably take it as read.
Just a question from me. Interest rates yesterday, will that affect this in any way?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, through the Interim General Manager. Very early days, it was only 0.25%. I say only. I'm a house owner and have a mortgage, so I was jumping for joy. But yes, I would expect that interest rates will start to also move.
Thank you very much, Mr. Director, through the General Manager. Any other comments, questions about this?
Mr.
Councillor
Mayor,
Lamont.
I need to help the new councillors, if I can. Is the $56 million that's sitting there in investments isn't $56 million to throw in and save the budget. That's committed. And there's probably, I think you mentioned also about $3 million somewhere to play with maybe, but that's a very critical point.
Absolutely. Who would like to move this motion? Council? Do I have a canny council? Councillor Dickinson, seconded by Councillor Jansen. I take it we've had the debate. All those in favour? All those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you, Council. Let's move on to the next item, which is the investment report for January 2025. That's the same. I should have. Basically, I jumped. Yeah. Anyway, I suspect that there's no further debate or consideration of that. Same. You move this one too. Seconded. Thank you very much. I put that to the council. All those in favour. All those against. It's carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. We got item 16.4, the monthly financial report for January 25. Recommendation here is that we receive and note the financial report for the financial period to January 25. Once again, I'll just give the through the General Manager to the Director just to give us a very short one, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, through the Interim General Manager, the income statement and statement of financial position or balance sheet is presented for your information. You'll note the net operating result for the year before grants and contributions provided for capital purposes, the very last line. It's come down to about $9 million. You'll recall the previous one for December was around $20 million. And that's by virtue of the fact that we have run the depreciation for non-financial assets. And that amounts to about $8.2 million. So we're getting closer to actual.
Thank you very much. Any comments, questions of the Director? Do I have a mover on that motion? Councillor Roberts Garnsey, Councillor Brown. I think you might have moved it. Did you get in there first? Did you? Okay, so Councillor Brown is the mover, seconded by Councillor Roberts Garnsey. I take it there's no debate. All those in favour, all those against. It's carried unanimously, everyone. Thank you. We now move on to Item 16.5, which is financial assistance for the Learn to Swim participants, offsetting the entry fees charges that were adopted by Council earlier this financial year. Do you want to just give us a top line through the General Manager to the Director of Financial and Commercial Services?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, through the Interim General Manager, I'm beginning to feel a bit like the Manager Governance and Risk now.
Swap jobs.
So councillors will recall that we, for the period 1 September through to the end of the financial year, we were offering incentives for the Learn to Swim participants in terms of their entry. So we're at about $6,750, just shy of that, for the year to date to 31 December. And we had a budget allocation all up of about $20,000. So we're on track to enable the community to be able to participate as councillors wished.
Thank you very much. Any questions of the Director? Any comments? It's obviously seems to be tracking okay in terms of your forecast, so thank you very much for that. Do I have a mover on this? Councillor Mott got in there and Councillor Town seconded. Would you like to speak to your motion, Councillor? Councillor Dickinson, would you like to speak to this
Just
motion?
a question. I was wondering if the general public are aware of this subsidy and has there been any comment on it? If anyone's aware of it?
Through the General Manager to the Director.
Thank you, Councillor, through the Interim General Manager. We haven't received any anecdotal evidence. We don't receive anything on Facebook posts or anything social, but I would imagine the general public are aware because they're being let into the facility free of charge. So yeah, but no, your point's taken. And yeah, so if any public are in there listening to tonight's broadcast, let us know whether it's good.
Thank you very much.
Sometimes good work goes unnoticed. I said that, I repeated it because my microphone wasn't.
Thank you very much. And I know it's probably not appropriate, but council are definitely looking for pool attendants. Is that right? I believe is the issue. Lifesavers. Lifesavers. There you go. There's a free plug in the middle of a council meeting, so they're looking for lifesavers at the moment. So if you want to do that, that's a great thing. Even councillors. There you go. So do we have a mover on this motion? Councillor Dickinson, seconder on the motion. Councillor Jansen. All those in favour? All those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Very important. We now move on to item 16.5, which is the Crossing Theatre concessional use application for the Rotary District 966 conference. Two councillors are leaving. At 7:05, Councillor Jansen and Councillor Towns are leaving the chamber. Thank you, councillors. Is this confidential?
No, there's an attachment.
Move into close though.
No, we don't need to.
Okay.
Those two attachments.
No worries. So, council will note there are confidential applications for the concessional use of the theatre for this event. Note that I am a Rotarian, but I'm not in any executive role anymore. So, I have a insignificant non-pecuniary interest. The recommendation here is that the council approve the concessional use rate of 50% for the room hire to the Rotary District 9660 for this particular event. Do I have any counts? You're moving that? Do I have a seconder, Councillor Nolan? Did you want that put, or do we have any arguments for or against this this event at all for this motion? No. I'll put it to the floor then. All those in favour? All those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone.
Mr Mayor,
Councillor.
just a comment, now that's been passed, that no doubt there'll be some consideration given in the budget about our concessional decisions, because staff have put in a budget to say what it was going to cost, and it comes out of the donations policy, I think it does, which stretched right out to about 130 by memory.
Yeah.
And we really we started in 21 with about 13,000, I think. It was pretty low. Anyhow, at 130. So we've got to really have a close look at this in the budget as to what we're doing, because there's obviously need and there's obviously great opportunities happening for various groups up there. We've got a great facility when they're
Thank you,
promoted.
Councillor.
So just a comment.
Might be just something that we can raise with the interim general manager as an item for one of our briefing sessions. I think it's an excellent suggestion. Thank you. We move on to the next item, which is so councillors are obviously back in the room. That's 7:07. Draft Narrabri Airport Master Plan 2025. There's been a fair bit of chatter about an interest about this particular matter. I was on the ABC this yesterday and this morning, and also on one of the other channels. But and Eloise, our interim general manager, we were also on there together talking about this particular matter. There is interest. There's been a lot. There's also misunderstanding. Every time there's a master plan, people think that we're going ahead with it and that we have the money and we're going to spend it. And so the alarm bells go off and people are thinking we're spending a huge amount of money on these types of things. What we try and do with these master plans is set and train the planning for 10, 20, 30 years down into the future, so that at least we start having shovel-ready projects, so that when grants become available, that we've at least got them sitting there. I might just hand it through the General Manager to the Director of Financial Commercial Services, who can give us a little bit of an update and just overview of this airport master plan for the council.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, again, through the interim general manager, the master plan for the airport, we do have a current master plan, and it goes out through to 2030, I believe. But because it ran through the COVID period, it effectively isn't relevant anymore. So we engaged a consultant, Aviation Projects, to update the master plan and make it more current. So the presented information tonight is presented as a result of consultation. There was a briefing held with councillors as well over the last month, and the information contained therein provides, as the Mayor has alluded to, options, and those options are contained within the body of the master plan, and they're effectively in 3 different stages. Each stage can be broken up into various other stages depending upon funding constraints, depending upon where we're actually at with what we want to do at the airport at that period in time. Given the aviation industry is in a little bit of flux at the moment with the federal government and Rex and other airport and other aerodrome and airline companies making moves, both positive and negative, into and out of different areas. I think it's probably pertinent that we have a look at what we want to do in the future. So this was information that was given to us, and then consultants did some discussions with airport users, and this is the result. Let's put it out. My recommendation and the recommendation of the report is to put it out to public consultation and see what the public think about it in terms of have we got it right? Do we need tweaks? And I implore all councillors to do the same.
Thank you very much, Mr. Director. Questions of the Director before we move into formal? Any questions of the Director? Councillor Brown.
Through the mayor to the director, through the interim general manager, sorry. It seems awfully large, the terminal that they've put on the master plan for what we have for our airport. Is that?
Thanks, councillor.
Thank you very much, Councillor.
Through the interim general manager, yes, it does appear very large, but that takes into account every conceivable possibility in terms of security arrangements, passenger movements. It includes a training room, which was part of an initial discussion, but it includes all the security requirements that a Code 4 airport would have. And that can all be scaled back, and the presentation from the consultant said that we can do that, or he would be inclined to be putting it into a staged approach. So it doesn't have to be the whole lot of what it is. It's not real good English, but we can do it a piecemeal deal. And then depending upon demand, we increase and go to stage 2 or stage 3 of that first development.
Thank you very much, Mr. Director. Any other comments from the councillors? You obviously seen the master plan. This is going to come back to additional briefing sessions with council, and obviously additional council meetings. This is not fait accompli. I'll hand the floor to the general manager for a moment.
Hi, thank you. Speaking with the reporter today, you might only get a snippet of my conversation, which is what they usually do. But what I really wanted to make clear is, I know on the ABC this morning, they were talking about $100 million is what we're going to be spending. That is not happening. I just want to make sure that you know, as Ted has described, it is a master plan. So basically it's thinking of everything that's possibly could be perceived out at the airport. And then scaling it back to exactly what we want. So it's really important that the public make comments on this master plan so we can prioritize the correct sections. So in there, it talks about stage 1, 2, and 3. Within stage 1, there might be like 5 different sections that we do. So from here, we need feedback, and then we go back and have a look and really piece out exactly what parts we need to do and build a project plan off that. Stage 3 being that code 4, which is full security, the same as Tamworth. We may never get there, but we need to think about it and put it in a plan so we don't cut out or limit ourselves in the future. So we're considering it, and as Ted said, we could build something that's not going to limit ourselves. And potentially, if we do go to, we have the need to go to code 4, we will enable us, say, in 20 years to put that onto our building or put that within our building and make happen.
So I implore, thank you very much, Madam General Manager. I implore councillors and also members of the public to think very carefully, read through this document, remembering that the Narrabri Place strategy is designed to allow this town to have an additional 2,100 homes within 20 years. That's a lot of homes. So just think about the type of airport we need in the future. It's not saying we're locked into that. It's just saying we need to have the vision, we need to have the foresight to look at that. And it's very important that we consider all that. So and I really encourage everyone to comment, read it, and make the constructive, critique of those particular ideas. They're absolutely not locked in, as the General Manager said. So do I have a mover on this? Do I have any other questions, Council? This is actually quite an important item. Are there any other comments or questions about this particular item? Councillor Lamont.
I was going to move the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Lamont, you may move the motion. Do I have a seconder on that? Oh, I think that was Brett. I'm gonna call it for Councillor Nolan. I'm going to call it for Councillor Nolan. Would you like to speak to your item, Councillor Lamont?
The reason why I moved it, Mr. Mayor, is it's a dream that we can aim for, and planning's all about having a strategy in place.
100%.
And when you get the money, it fits in with everything you said and the staff have said. I thought it was a brilliant workshop. The staff and the consultant did a great job. I know there's some issues. Councillor Brown was talking about there. There's some bits and pieces we can sort out along the way, but we have to aim somewhere. It'll be interesting to see what the people say. Those that are interested, there are people out there who want to build hangars. There's a whole range of opportunities, plus the Narrabri Strait place strategy and the potential for the area to grow.
Thank you very much. Just as a final little comment, I don't think this council has ever had the appetite, like some other councils, to adopt a huge amount of debt. I just don't think I think that's one of the reasons our council's in a fairly, healthy financial situation. We don't want to go into tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars worth of debt just to get an airport that, makes us feel happy. So I think I think if I'm capturing the appetite of the council, I think we're all probably feel like that. So, Councillor Lamont, you don't want to say anything further about that? No worries. I'll put that. Any other comments for or against this? Any other comments? Oh, Councillor Dickinson.
Yeah, I'll make a comment. I think it's a good idea to go out to the public, but I just have a waning appetite that we're going to get very many submissions. I just hope that the public's not thinking that we have this grand plan to build this huge airport for massive planes and a massive amount of people, but we need to start somewhere, and we need to get involvement with the public. They need to tell us what they want. That's what I want to
100%.
make absolutely clear. It's terrible.
It's a very, very good comment. We are naturally blessed. We're at the crossroads of so many, major transport routes and the whole thing. We do need to have an airport that supports our future growth plans, but we don't want this to be a great white elephant, that would just be plain silly. Okay, I'll put it to the floor. There's no debate for or against. Any other comments? Put that to the floor. All those in favour? All those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. We are moving into planning. So this item is in the planning and development space. This is item 18.1. This is the planning and development report for Q2 of 24-25. The director of planning. The director of planning was responsible for this. I'll just call on the director just to, as part of this, we note the minutes of the Floodplain Risk Management Advisory Committee held on the 27th of November 24. I call upon the acting director just to put top line, anything that she thinks would be pertinent for the council to have highlighted, please. Yes, just hold it. I just hold it down as you're speaking. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through the interim general manager, just a update on the planning and development department activities for Q2. Looking at our statutory services, DAs, CCs, building certification, and also some strategic planning projects that are on the go there. There's a couple of attachments there from the Floodplain Management Advisory Committee for the last 2 meetings, and also our stats report.
Yes, and just the general manager.
I didn't highlight this earlier, but this is a perfect time frame. Despite what our budget looks like, the previous report, our planning development team had an increase in capital income of $398,000 received from developer contributions. That's a very exciting figure, which means there's action happening in the developer world across the Shire. So exciting.
As councillors can all read, there's a number of very, very interesting development projects currently in play, and there's some very, very interesting developments certainly. So things are on the go. Any comments, questions for the acting director? Anything from anyone? Do I have a mover on this motion? Councillor Jansen. Do I have a seconder on the motion? Councillor Roberts Guernsey. Would you like to speak to your motion at all, Councillor Councillor Jansen? I put this, any other comments for or against? I put this to the floor. All those in favour? All those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for that. Item here, we've got an item that I'm always very interested in. Item 18.2, which is community advocacy opportunities for February. This is written by the interim general manager. Do you want to? Well, it says you're the responsible officer. Do you want to just quickly speak to that? Interim general manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Happy to speak on the report. Yeah, there might be a number of us that might want to speak. So this is Donna's bread and butter. She loves this work and she is very good at it. We're very lucky to have her here at council to continue pushing this. So there's been a number of advocacy items throughout the past couple of months, and this report gives an update on that. So of note, Donna's done some drafting on the ALGA motions, which are contained within this report. So please provide any comments on those. We also have an update on the Portfolio Committee number 8, Customer Service Inquiry into Pounds, as an update within the report. The Community Justice Centre, so this is quite concerning at the moment. We've received an update on the Community Justice Centres that they will be, basically funding has ceased and be removing them from our areas as a cost saving. There's an update within this report. We also have particulars parking regulations, and another big one within the infrastructure area is the state government is looking at the local water utilities and looking at reform in that place. So at the moment, council, we have a water team and we look after water for this shire, and we get paid for that. We have water assets and we spend money to do that service.
Water business.
So the state government are looking into making changes potentially in that, and this is despite a recent inquiry in that area in the terms of privatisation of water, and that inquiry came back to say basically don't touch it, don't pursue privatisation. However, now the state government is looking at a few different options, as you can see in this report, as to do nothing, which is business as usual for us, looking at potential JOs or groups like that.
Alliances, yeah.
Or the state government taking over water. So that's what they're looking into at the moment. It's very important we highlight that to you, because how it has been done, contact was made directly to the technical experts as opposed to an official council invitation to that reform. Ted might be able to provide any more update on that one.
To the director, through the general manager.
Thank you, councillors. The interim general manager, through the interim general manager, I attended a meeting of the local water utilities this morning in Dubbo. It was the second meeting of the group. Based on the first iteration of the group, we were concerned as an executive. I'm a little bit less concerned as to what's going on. It was more an information piece this morning, where the government department that was handling or running the meeting was giving some information and having some of there's two alliances in particular, which gave some information to the attendees, and I left in the middle of a presentation from an alliance out of Queensland in terms of where their jurisdiction is. There's no, I don't think the government have made their mind up finally on where they're going to land, but they have received some resistance from the attendees, at least at today's meeting, around corporatisation or handing back of the assets to the state government. Nobody at that meeting today wanted to do that, and the previous meeting they didn't want to do it either. There will be another update and another meeting in March, which I'll make sure that someone from the executive attends, and we can pass some more information on to the elected body.
Thank you very much. Through the general manager to the manager of governance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did hope that I wouldn't have to speak again today, but then this came up. I only really want to speak in relation to the community justice centres and provide some information for the community who might be watching this, and also for the councillors around what that is. So the community justice centres is an initiative that's been around for quite a while, and it's a service that provides trained, qualified, accredited, independent mediators for members of the community who are having disputes with each other. And what it really is it's a diversionary pathway from going down the legal path and the litigation path, which I can tell you from long experience is very expensive. And if taken to its ultimate conclusion, most people walk away, except the lawyers, not particularly satisfied, because it's a zero-sum game that's a very expensive zero-sum game. So what the community justice centres do, or did, was provide a diversion from that, where people could resolve their disputes in a way that they had control over the outcomes, and in a way that let them go straight to the issues, that wasn't an expensive and long process. Putting that aside, the impact that this may have on council is that, and I think Donna addresses it in her report, is that if CJC is unavailable to deal with things like neighbourhood disputes over fences and trees and barking dogs and roaming cats and all those sorts of things, then people will look somewhere else. And given how expensive and lengthy and whatnot the legal route is, odds are where people will look is the regulatory compliance team in council. So there's a significant risk that, and it's probably an unintended consequence, that removing or getting rid of community justice centres will in some ways shift cost and responsibility to council for something that we don't have the resources to deal with.
No. Excellent point. Thank you very much, Mr. Manager. Just on item, recommendation number 6, the General Manager and I have just had a quick chat. If we were to go ahead with the recommendation, I think we'd get rid of item 6A. I've had some discussions with other councils, and I think it would be more prudent to say that council seek further clarity from the New South Wales Government in respect of the relationship between the New South Wales Parliament Joint Select Committee on Protecting Water Utilities from Privatisation and the Western New South Wales Water Utility Reform Program, and just to kind of to allow that. I think that for the first one of talking about water alliances and various others, many councils are already in water alliances. Ourselves and Moree, we aren't in a water alliance that we can see. So we just need to explore that, but just I think it would be a bit more prudent just to get rid of that point if someone's prepared to move it as is. Any other comments or questions by the councillors at all? Councillor
I'm
Lamont.
sorry to be, there's a lot of stuff that come up today that I'm familiar with. Question through you
Yes.
to the director, please. Lower Macquarie Water Utilities Alliance, which was focused on Dubbo, Wellington Dubbo, went right out to wherever the Macquarie River went, the lower. That was a very, very active alliance, and it started out by Wellington drove it, and the Western councils couldn't attract the water and sewerage expertise and to train them all up and get going to better manage the water, which was scarce. And were they part of that meeting today, or was this something that for us to become the host surprises me? That's all.
Through the General Manager to the Director.
Thank you, Councillor, through the Interim General Manager. I believe the alliance you're referring to was formerly the Arana Alliance. So they made mention of that at the meeting today. That's now morphed into the Western Council's Water Alliance. It consists of 13 member councils, all the way down to Dubbo, out to Central Darling, includes Narromine, Midwestern, etc. So we were invited to that, and yeah, we're ongoing discussions as to where we're going to go from there.
The question will obviously be: do we join an existing alliance, or do we form our own path? But I think that's something that's the staff need to explore a bit further.
There's a lot of skin in the game, those people, and they get affected by various governments of the day. And at the end of the day, it's about preserving urban water and at a reasonable cost, and having the expertise to deal with that,
100%.
plus dealing with the irrigators. It's a very, very powerful world to be in, one with caution.
Yes, 100%. And there's that obviously that balance between being eclipsed by big towns and cities like Dubbo or Tamworth, or do you go it alone with a few smaller councils? So that's the debate at the moment, and staff will make a recommendation. So, do I have any other questions from the floor at all? Any clarity that you require? Do I have a mover on this motion as I can move it myself, but I'd prefer one of you guys to move it. Explore. Yep. So it's quite a big motion, everyone.
Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to move it. How it worked when it was the Lower Macquarie Water Utilities Alliance, and it morphed into the Arana, then it morphed into the Western Alliance because they dropped out of the ROC, then they dropped out of the JO.
Yep.
But what's powerful is the expertise of the staff members within it. And when the meetings were held, the mayor and the general manager attended the meetings and were equal. And that was a really, really important way forward, because all the skin was in the game, and we helped the Western councils initially, and then they had to buy in later. It got more expensive later.
Yep.
And Dubbo was central to being part of that. Now they've got Wellington Council in there. So I think there's probably a lot to gain by finding out a bit more information for us to be part of this in the Western Western area.
We'll explore, and I've also had discussions with a number of the mayors around the area, and I think it's something that definitely we need to explore and present back to council. So thank you very much. So the item is, so that's the motion as stands. We don't have a mover. Do I have a mover? Councillor Dickinson. Do I have a seconder on that motion? Councillor Lamont, we've got that. Doesn't matter. Oh, you wanted to move it and second it. That's fine.
Wanted to be the mover, Mr. Mayor, because
very happy
I
for you
can
to
go
do
straight to the source.
Excellent, good. Okay, thank you very much. Is there any other further comments? Is councillors all aware of what we're voting on here? Is there absolute clarity or certain you know what we're voting on here? It packs a lot of punch, this motion. There's a lot of things in there. There's a lot of advocacy matters in this one. There being no further debate or questions or concerns, I'm going to put it to the floor. All those in favour, all those against, it's carried unanimously. Thank you, council. Thank you. Sorry, that was a bit of a complex one, that one. We're now moving on to item 19.1, which is the ALGA National General Assembly motions. These are a whole lot of motions that are being proposed that we raise with the that we raise at the ALGA conference. Can I just say, just as a bit of a side note, out of I was at the Alga conference, and Narrabri Council were almost superstars there. We had councils from right across the country, and we had all of our motions adopted, and we had probably more motions than any other council in the country. Including the city ones and the ones with huge budgets. It was something that we were all very proud of as we walked away from that conference. So the recommendation is here that we submit the following motions to the ALGA General Assembly, that we call on the Australian Government to provide additional resources and support to local government in consort with the AFP to proactively manage the increasing operational impacts and associated community risks associated with burgeoning sovereign citizen movements and other fringe anti-government movements. Second, that we call on the Australian Government to develop a nationally accessible companion animal register. As we know, that we've had one business already go down in Victoria, and it straight away throws the whole kind of registration program into collapse. We call on the Australian Government to create a non-competitive funding pool as part of broader compensation fund accessible by local government to address some issues around PFAS and contaminated water drinking supplies. That we implement a nationally established weed priority framework to manage biosecurity that's cross state borders and territories, of course. That we look for additional support to local governments to retain local airline services with a specific focus on smaller rural and regional airlines. That we expedite the delivery of the nation-building inland rail project. That we harmonise disparity, application and relevancy of accounting standards for local governments to ensure the consistency of measurement and management of depreciation and approach to valuation of associated non-current assets. This is quite a handful. We've got 13 motions here. Donna's been very busy. We're so proud of this lady. That the Australian Government extends financial support for the delivery of health services and equipment in rural and remote communities using place-based and cooperative approach with local government. That we call on the Australian Government to develop a national renewable energy information portal to assist local government to prepare and assist with the planning delivery of the 2050 net zero emissions target. This portal will capture critical information, etc. That we call on the Australian Government to regulate artificial intelligence technology insofar as it relates to the risk to the proliferation of misinformation and disinformation. A hot topic, everyone. That we call on the Australian Government to establish a national royalties for regions framework to address current gaps and state-led inequities in the distribution of funding to mining affected communities. That we call on the Australian Government to further support local government in the delivery of local youth allied programs designed in partnership with a community that assists in closing the gap. That we call on the Australian Government to urgently review the disaster recovery funding arrangement, the DRFA model, with a focus on achieving greater transparency and equity of access. You can see our Director of Planning has been quite busy, and she's on leave for the next month or so, and I'd say she's a well-deserved break. But councillors, do you have any questions of the GM, the interim GM, the acting director, or anyone else? Are there any questions that you would like before we just move into formal debate, if required? There's a lot of information there. A lot of really interesting stuff. Any questions, councillors? No? Do I have a mover on that motion? Oh, I think that might have been. I think that was Councillor Roberts-Garnsey and was seconded by Councillor Jansen. Would you like to speak to your motion, Councillor Roberts-Garnsey?
I'd just like to commend the director for an excellent and proactive list of motions.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions or concerns of this particular suite of motions for the council?
I'd like to second Councillor Roberts-Garnsey's motion to commend the director for her exceptionally hard work on this
Yeah, thank
and
you.
leadership.
Thank you very, very much. I'm fairly sure we had we had quite a few less than this at the Albert conference last year, and she was probably desperate to beat it, and I'm very impressed. So I'm going to put that. Any other questions or concerns? I will put that to the floor. All those in favour? All those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you, council. Council, we now for reasons of confidentiality, we do need to move into confidential. According to the Local Government Act 1993, we are permitted meetings to be closed for businesses relating to personnel matters concerning particular individuals other than councillors. This is a decision on the Senior Citizen of the Year. Can I have a mover on the motion that we move into closed confidential? Councillor Lamont, seconded by Councillor Noland. All those in favour? All those against? It is That is, councillors, that is the conclusion. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate your time. I know it's a late evening, but thank you very much for your time. Drive safely and look forward to catching up with you at the next briefing session. Thank you. Thanks.
Councillor Jay did not get a chance to come back in.